I thought by this time, given everything that's happened, that the Republican Party would realize that races that look backwards are not winning races. Candidates who look backwards are not winning candidates, and they're not leaders. I will tell you this, I am tired of hearing about the 2020 election. And by the way, you know, I'm from New Jersey, if you want to talk about voter fraud, okay? We take a back seat only to Illinois. In fact, one of my predecessors, Governor Brendan Byrne, who has since just passed away, he used to say that he made his wife promise that when he died, that she would bury him in Jersey City, New Jersey, so that he could remain active in politics. So I'm not naive, everybody. I know that there's always a little bit of monkey business that goes on in every election, but not enough to change the result of an election in 6 states. So let's start there. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Joe Biden's sleeping in the White House tonight, and it's our fault. Okay, it's our fault. And by us, I mean Republicans who allowed President Trump to do the things that he did and empowered him. And we've been empowering him ever since he left the White House. And he's been taking advantage of us as a result. Now, the most egregious one I just heard today. Now, I remember, because I was in that 16 race, that one of the things Donald Trump said on that stage, among many things that he said in that stage, was, I'm a billionaire. I'm the richest guy on this stage. I don't need anybody else's money, and nobody can buy me or own me, unlike these other guys who are all out there asking for money. I'm going to be just for you. Okay. So then how do you explain this? His FEC reports have come out. 50 cents of every dollar that's being donated to his presidential campaign is going to pay his personal legal fees. 50 cents of every dollar. $17 million so far. Now, if you're a billionaire, I know how to count to a billion. 17 million, I mean, I'm a lawyer, so I'm not great at it, but 17 million is less than a billion. And if you get yourself in all this legal trouble, pay your own legal fees. Instead, he's taking $10, $25, $50 from middle-class Americans across this country who believe in him and want him to use that money to get reelected President of the United States, and he's taking it and he's putting it in his own pocket to pay his lawyers. It is disgraceful. It's beneath the office he asks for, and that alone should disqualify him from being our nominee in 2024. But that's not all. The whole damn family's on the grift. Okay? His daughter and her husband. Again, Jared Kushner, the son of a multi-billionaire from my home state. He gets sent to the Middle East to negotiate on behalf of our country. I guess the president sent him because he's such an expert on the Middle East, having been a real estate developer in New Jersey developing garden apartments. I'm sure that's why he sent him. I'll tell you why he sent him. We didn't see it till 6 months after. 6 months after Donald Trump leaves office, Jared Kushner gets on a plane and goes to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and he comes home with $2 billion of Saudi money to seed his investment fund, of which he will get a percentage of that money every year for the rest of his life, whether he makes a nickel for the Saudis or not. If anyone else in this country had first hired their daughter and son-in-law into the White House and then set them up to get $2 billion of money from the Saudis, there'd be outrage. But somehow with Donald Trump, he's skating past that. We can't let it, because let me tell you, we put him back there, the same thing's going to happen. The exact same thing's going to happen. Lastly, I run into people all the time who say, all right, I get it. He lies. He's selfish. But I like his policies. So I'm going to vote for him because I like his policies. All right. I like a lot of the policies he pursued too. And I want to remind all of you, I was the first person to endorse him when I dropped out of the race in 2016. The first governor in this country to endorse him. The first former candidate to endorse him. I chaired his transition to the White House. I chaired his opioid and drug abuse commission. This one will keep you up tonight. You especially. I want you to think about this now. I played Hillary Clinton in debate prep. Me. Hillary Clinton. Took me a while. All I had to, there's a number of things I had to learn, but I won't go into that. I played Joe Biden in debate prep in 2020 for Donald Trump. I had to take a few sedatives before I did, but I worked it out. My point to you is, I'm not coming down here in South Carolina as some never Trumper. I worked hard to get him elected in 2016. I worked hard every day to make him the best president he possibly could be for all of us, and supported a lot of his policies. But he failed us. He failed us. He said he was going to repeal and replace Obamacare. And with a Republican Congress, he didn't get it done. You remember this one. He was going to build a big, beautiful wall across the entire border of Mexico, and Mexico was going to pay for it. Well, let me tell you what happened after 4 years. And you can go on the Department of Homeland Security website and see it for yourself. In 4 years, he built 52 miles of new wall. 52 miles. And by the way, we're still waiting for the first peso from Mexico to pay for that. Not a nickel from Mexico to pay for it. If you're trying to do the math in your head, I did this before, building the wall at that pace, he would have to be president for another 110 years to get the entire wall done. He failed us. He said, I will balance the budget in 4 years because I'm a businessman and I know how to balance budgets. And you know what he did? He added $6 trillion to the national debt in 4 years. Shocking. But it shouldn't be, because this is the guy who in my home state sent his 3 casinos bankrupt 3 times. Now let me ask you a question. Who can't make money with a casino? I mean, how damn stupid do you have to be to not be able to make money in a casino? They always win. How many of you have ever come out of casino saying like, man, 5th time in a row I've won? I never have. $6 trillion. One other quick story. When I was governor of New Jersey, I inherited an $11 billion deficit on a $29 billion budget in 2010. And we balanced that budget without raising taxes. We cut 836 individual programs out to balance that budget. The reason I bring it up is because when that was going on, there was a lot of publicity about it. Democrats wanted me to raise taxes. I said no. And a friend of mine called me with an idea, Donald Trump. He called me from New York and he said, Chris, I see this big budget problem you have. I got an idea for you. I said, what's that? He goes, go bankrupt. I said, no, Donald. States are not allowed by law to go bankrupt. We can't go bankrupt. He goes, no, look, just do it. He said, it'll be 3 years before it gets through the courts, and everybody will think you're a hero. We shouldn't be surprised. $6 trillion to the national debt. So on the issues that you care about, If you say, I know Donald Trump's not a good person, I know he lies, I know he's broken the law, I know he's grifting for himself and for his family, but I like his policies, I'd ask you a question. Why the hell would you hire him to implement those policies? He's proven he can't do it. Now, our country now is in a circumstance much like I think we were in the late 70s. For those of us who are old enough in this room to remember the late 70s, when Joe Biden's favorite president was president. Energy crisis, runaway inflation, people worried about jobs, the Soviets invading Afghanistan, boycotting the Olympics, hostages in Iran, and a president who said it was our fault, that we were under a malaise, and that it was our fault that America wasn't great. What did we do when confronted with that? In 1980, what we did was turn to a conservative governor from a blue state who knew how to solve problems. What we need in the government now is someone who knows how to run the government and solve those problems and has done it under the toughest circumstances. With all due respect to the other governors in this race who all had Republican legislatures, every minute of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year that I was governor, I had a Democratic legislature. Every day. I would have given my right arm for a week with a Republican legislature. They would have never slept the things we would have been able to do, but I didn't. So what I had to learn was how to bring people together and get things done. And we didn't do a whole bunch of liberal things, everybody. We reformed the pension system for public employees and saved taxpayers $120 billion. We made public employees for the first time contribute to the cost of their health insurance, so the taxpayers didn't have to pay every nickel of it. We fired the entire city of Camden Police Department because they were the most dangerous city in America, and there were 400 of these cops who were failing every day. Their union wouldn't let us change, so we fired all of them. And we brought in new police, trained them in community policing and violence de-escalation. And what's happened in the 10 years since we fired that entire police force? The murder rate in Camden is down 75%. We need to have someone who's done law enforcement to get crime under control in our cities all across this country. What's happening in our cities is disgraceful, it's unacceptable, and if I'm President of the United States as a former U.S. attorney, violent criminals who carry guns will go to jail and they'll stay there. Ronald Reagan understood this. I remember sitting in my dorm room in 1980 in September at the University of Delaware, and I was going to get to vote for president for the first time in my life. I turned 18, and I got my absentee ballot. It wasn't rigged. It was actually a real ballot. I only got one of them, only filled out one of them. And I sat there, and I put the X in the box next to Ronald Reagan because he was the person who told me, I know how to run this, I know how to fix this, and I'm going to make your life full of hope and aspirations fulfilled. And I trusted him, and I voted for him, and it's the greatest vote for president I've ever made in my life because he kept his word to us. We need to do the same thing again. We need to take a chance on somebody who knows how to do this. So that's why I'm in this race. And I'll say one last thing to you about all of my colleagues who are in this race as well. I have to tell you, I just got asked, I was being interviewed on CNN before I came in here, and they asked me about your senator from this state. And did I think he was a formidable candidate? And I said, yeah. I like Tim Scott. I think he's a good man. And I think he tries his very best every day for the people of this state and for the country. And I've known him now for 10 years, and I like him a great deal personally. I just think I'm better qualified having been a governor for 8 years than he is having been in the legislature. And someday he and I may have to have that argument. I don't have anything bad to say about almost any of my other colleagues in this race in terms of the kind of people they are. But here's my problem with them and why I got in. They won't tell you the truth about Donald Trump. They won't do it.